Billionaire said, "I need a boyfriend to meet my parent this week." Single dad said, "Not sleeping on sofa." From the moment Christopher Hale's black SUV skidded to a halt in the rain, nearly hitting the man carrying a child in his arms, his life split into before and after. The headlights washed over a drenched figure standing in the storm, a little girl clinging to his shoulders, shivering, scared. And in the frozen seconds that followed, Christopher never imagined this accidental encounter would become the lifeline he had been silently praying for, nor that this man, this stubborn, tired, proud single father named Elijah Ward, would become the one person brave enough to challenge him, heal him, and finally teach him what love felt like. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in love that finds you when you least expect it, make sure to like this video, subscribe, share it with someone who needs hope today, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Christopher stepped out into the storm without an umbrella, instantly soaked, yet unable to walk away from the scene unfolding in front of him. Elijah's daughter, little Mia, coughed into his shoulder, and her father's voice trembled with exhaustion as he asked if there was a bus stop nearby. His clothes were worn, his shoes frayed at the edges, and his eyes carried the quiet pain of a man who had known too many battles and almost no rest. Christopher immediately offered them a ride, and though Elijah hesitated, his pride a shield he held tightly, the weight of Mia's worsening cough forced him to accept. Inside the warm car, Christopher noticed the way Elijah gently rubbed Mia's back, whispering reassurances into her ear. It was the tenderness of a father who had lost everything except the one precious soul he still fought for. And there was something about that love, raw, fierce, and beautiful, that struck Christopher deeper than he wanted to admit. By the time they reached the nearest clinic, lightning cracked across the sky. Christopher insisted on paying for the visit, despite Elijah's protests, and he stayed through the entire examination. When Mia was finally cleared and given medicine, Elijah sat outside the clinic, running his hands through his wet hair with frustration and relief tangled together. Christopher sat beside him silently, offering comfort without words. And it was in that quiet moment that a strange idea, one born of desperation, began to form in Christopher's mind. For months he had been avoiding his parents' endless questions. He was a billionaire, heir to the Hale Enterprises empire, drowning in pressure to find a partner before the upcoming family summit where all-powerful relatives would gather to judge every aspect of his life. He didn't want a shallow arrangement like the ones offered to him. He wanted someone real, someone genuine, someone who wasn't chasing his money. And Elijah, with his warm eyes, worn clothes, and steady strength, was the first real person he'd met in a long time. The next morning, after ensuring Elijah and Mia had a safe place to stay temporarily, Christopher made an offer. He explained that he needed someone to act as his boyfriend for a week, just 1 week, to get his family off his back. In return, he would ensure Elijah and his daughter got a stable home, a fresh start, and support with childcare and work. But Elijah crossed his arms with stubborn fire, replying that he wouldn't pretend to be anyone's boyfriend while being treated like an inconvenience or sleeping on some cold sofa in a billionaire's mansion. If he was going to help, he expected respect, dignity, and a real bed. He was a single dad, not a prop. Christopher, taken aback yet deeply impressed by Elijah's backbone, agreed without hesitation. From the moment Elijah and Mia stepped into the Hale family estate, the world seemed to tilt. Elijah felt out of place among glass chandeliers, marble floors, and walls lined with portraits of powerful ancestors. But Christopher stayed close, always close, quietly guiding him, shielding him, trying to ease the weight of the unfamiliar. It became clear quickly that Christopher's family wasn't just powerful, they were judgmental, sharp-tongued, and relentless. They scrutinized Elijah's every move, pried into his past, questioned his worth, and hinted that someone of his background didn't belong beside a Hale. But Elijah never broke. His calm responses, quiet strength, and genuine kindness, even toward those who treated him poorly, slowly began softening the edges of the mansion that once felt so cold. And through it all, Christopher saw something in Elijah he had always longed for, a safe place to rest his heart. There were long nights when Christopher found Elijah folding laundry for Mia in the guest room, humming softly. Nights when they sat on the balcony watching city lights shine like fallen stars. Nights when Christopher confessed fears he had never said aloud, that he felt empty despite all his wealth, that he didn't know how to be truly loved, that sometimes he felt like a child pretending to be a man. Elijah listened every time, without judgment, without expectations, without wanting anything from him. And that alone was enough to unravel the walls Christopher didn't know he still had. Slowly, their fake relationship stopped feeling fake. The turning point came during the family dinner a few days before the summit. Christopher's uncle made a cruel comment about men like Elijah, implying he was only there for money. Elijah stood up, not angrily, but with a quiet dignity that silenced the room. He spoke of raising a child alone, of working jobs that paid barely enough to survive, of teaching Mia kindness even when the world was unkind. He spoke of choosing integrity when life offered easier but darker paths. And then he said something that made Christopher's heart stutter. If I wanted wealth, I would have chased it long ago. I'm not here for money. I'm here because your nephew asked for help. And because I believe in being there for people who have no one. The entire table went silent. Christopher's mother wiped tears from her eyes. And Christopher, he realized he was falling in love. By the end of the week, when the summit ended successfully and Christopher publicly declared he didn't care whether the family approved of his relationship, Elijah felt something shift inside him. He saw the courage Christopher had gained, the strength he had rediscovered, and the love he finally allowed himself to embrace. And when Christopher asked him, not as a billionaire needing a favor, but as a man trembling with hope, whether they could be something real, Elijah didn't hesitate anymore. But life wasn't easy after that. The path to blending their worlds was filled with challenges, Christopher navigating fatherhood, Elijah learning to trust again, Mia adjusting to a future brighter than she had ever known. They faced backlash, criticism, doubts. They faced their own fears. But they faced them together. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the rain, when two broken lives collide at the right moment. They built a home, a family, a future neither of them dared to dream of before. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps this channel reach more souls who need stories like this.